Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze. I apologize for the 3-day break. There was just a lot to get caught up on, okay? Hey, I'm a young guy. I got a lot of kids, all right? So be patient with me. We're working on it. This is all to your benefit, okay? I am playing the long-term game. I hope to do this for a good long time. So, yeah, we took a break. We were here on Monday. And then now we're back on Friday, and there's some things to talk about. Obviously, we've got Kamala Harris interview that took place on Fox News. There's the current state of the race, and also my beard is longer. So we're going to be exploring a number of things. But we have a few other stories that I want to talk to you about that you may not be aware of, that may not be on the forefront, but sometimes there's things that I want to talk to you about, so hopefully you'll find that to be important as well. So first and foremost, working on getting some things uploaded for you, trying to get caught up on Bible study. You will notice there are a few extra Philippians studies. I'm working on getting all that uploaded. We have some Sunday school, some Sunday morning sermons that will be getting taken care of. So be on the lookout for that. Stay up to date on what we're teaching so you can follow along my doctrine, my theology. What do you agree with? What do you don't? Now, all that being said, first and foremost, let's probably get into some of the stuff that's on your, the forefront of your mind, and we'll get to some more interesting side stories, okay? The current state of the race. Trump has momentum. And you know he has momentum because the Kamala Harris campaign is getting very, very aggressive, okay? Now, why does it matter? I'm not somebody who thinks that politics is the end-all, be-all, right? I want the government to be as small as possible. But you and I, in the world we live in, if you are an American, but if you're another citizen of another country as well, here's the problem. Our government has gotten so large, all right? It is massive. It's too big. It's too powerful. And therefore, it actually does kind of matter who is the one that's able to call the shots and is in charge of these things. We want smaller government, and we need politicians in place that are willing to do it. I don't think that Donald Trump is going to bring about every single policy I would love to see from a president, but I am convinced that he has a few things that are of utmost importance. Number one, he's not for just killing babies. Yes, I know he's been taking a more moderate position in the race. The truth is, the matter of abortion is a hot button issue, okay? And as much as I would love for a politician to get up and say we are against abortion, we're abolitionists in that case. And yes, I know that there's a lot of people here, not necessarily watching this show, but maybe. There's some who have some reservations about that. Well, what about this? What about that? If we can get everybody to understand that at least abortion as it is today is not as it's being presented by the media. It's being presented by the media as we have to have it legal for all of the terrible catastrophes that could take place. They always play the worst case scenarios. For right now, let's just get people on board with saying, hey, how about we don't use abortion as a form of birth control or using abortion as a way to get out of it if you're a mother who believes you can't afford a child, right? If we can at least get those out of the way. and Trump is at least more friendly to that position than what the Democrats are. The Democrats will use all those extreme excuses as a way to say we have to have legal abortion. And yet the truth is, if you look at how abortion's being used, it's used as birth control, right? If you don't want a baby, you can kill the baby. That is their entire game plan. But Trump is on that side. Also, Trump is for securing up our borders. Now, I wish Trump was a lot less pro-immigration. Like, we don't even want legal immigration. I've been adamant about that. I think we've got enough. I'm looking at our ranches and our farms being destroyed because people are moving in. They're dividing up the land into smaller pieces. I think the ability to run cattle and grow food, that is a very important thing, and we can't do it if we keep turning everything into suburbs. So let's let the replacement rate be what the replacement rate is. Okay, let's encourage families. Let's have more families. But as those grow, guess what? You can put a few houses on some land, right? And you can have families that way. We don't have to divide everything up into little suburbans or suburban areas or apartment buildings, right? So we're all for restricting immigration as a whole. Trump is for that. He's for reducing illegal immigration, right? That's what I meant. Now, if we look at Kamala Harris side, the Democrat Party, they have been extremely moderate this time around. And I say extremely moderate, which truth is they're not very moderate at all, but they're trying to run back to the middle. Kamala Harris presenting herself as this massive, border hawk and prosecutor of criminals and all this other silliness. Do not forget, okay? I know that we have short-term memory. Do not forget. This is still the party of Bernie Sanders socialism. This is still the party of mass amnesty. This is the party of sending bags of cash to other countries, right? Like Iran. So there's nothing about Kamala Harris or the Democrat platform that is moderate at all, okay? They are just trying to put on a good face. So we definitely have an interest in all these things. That's why we're talking about them. That's why you hear me giving you updates every week. I know you're following it. Some of you may be following it even better than what I am. But at the very least, you are able to hear my position. So when I talk about these matters and how it does affect us as believers, and it absolutely does, you're going to understand that at least I have an ear to the ground on the matter. But the Kamala Harris campaign is not in a great place. This is not where they want to be. The evidence is how desperate they are to do interviews. And this week, I believe it was on Tuesday, we had the Kamala Harris Fox News interview with Bret Baier. I'm going to tell you this right now. Initially, all the conservatives were saying this is a win. This is a win because Kamala Harris looked angry. Bret Baier hit her on the hard questions. You say that you're a change, but yet you've been the administration in charge for the past 3.5 years. You say Trump is not with it cognitively, but yet you claim that Joe Biden is just fine. He hit her on a lot of things. Kamala Harris definitely got flustered. There's reports that her team was trying to cut the interview early, that she was really shook up afterwards. There's all those things. But don't underestimate the Democratic Party and their ability to spin stories. And certainly that's probably what we try to do as well, or at least Republicans and conservatives, because we try to paint our position in the best light possible. They're going to say that Kamala Harris was tough. She stood up to him. She demonstrated how to not run away from hard questions. And they're trying to say that because Trump hasn't been doing interviews on MSNBC or 60 Minutes, that he's running away from the hard questions and Kamala Harris is being tough. They're certainly going to try to do that. What is the impact that this Kamala Harris Fox News interview is going to have? I have decided, wait 5 days. So what day was the Kamala Harris Fox News interview? The Kamala Harris Fox News interview was, 2 days ago. So, Tuesday or Wednesday. We're still not, and I'm just saying 2 days ago because that's what the news headlines are showing. It was on Wednesday. Okay, so we are still a few days out from knowing what really is going to happen with that, okay? I'll remind you, when there was the debate between Trump and Harris, obviously the moderators came out very one-sided, attacked Trump. Trump kind of seemed to be chasing rabbit trails. Kamala Harris looked really nervous at first, but then kind of found her footing. And then when it was over, Harris said, we want another debate. We want another one right now. Let's do it. Trump comes out and says, that prize fighter, when they lose the fight, always wants a rematch. So he's not going to give her one because he won. And we were kind of feeling very skeptical about how well Trump did and that it really may help Kamala Harris. And guess what? 5 days later, didn't make much of a difference. Let's wait and see. This interview could help Trump. It could hurt Trump. It could help Kamala Harris. Or it may not make a difference at all. But we just need to wait and see. You don't know exactly how people are going to perceive it, and that's all that matters. But as of right now, Trump is in a good place. He's in as good a place to win against Kamala Harris as he's ever been against her. Maybe not quite as good in a place to win against Joe Biden. And hopefully what this means is, because Trump is surging, even if hypothetically Trump doesn't win the election, maybe that will help our Senate race to where the Republicans can shore up the Senate. Because the great thing about the way our country is designed at the federal level is gridlock, right? And that's one thing that the Democrats are trying to destroy, trying to get rid of the filibuster and packing the Supreme Court. If the Republicans can control the Senate, that will greatly help reduce a lot of things that take place. Not everything, because the presidency has seized more power to where they can do a lot with executive orders and the government agencies that they're in charge of. But at least the Senate could help to be a block against some of the radical plans that Kamala Harris will implement. And she will be a radical. She's just Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been an extremely radical president. She will be probably all the more. I think it's a safe bet, all right, if you're a betting man, right? I'm a good preacher, right? If you are a betting man, this is all going to tighten up. And it's already tight, okay? If we look at the polls today, once again, it is Friday. We haven't done really a poll update. Let's go ahead and look at the presidential polls. We'll just do a quick national one. We won't go state by state. But if we look at the national polling here from 538, whether or not you think the polls are any good, I'm not telling you they are one way or another. It's just something to keep in mind. Right now, Harris is holding up to this final point. As of October 18th, 2024, Harris is plus 2.1 nationally. All right, plus 2.1 nationally. Obviously, terrible numbers for a Democrat. If you're a Democrat, you need to be more than plus 5. I'm just going to say that. I think that if you look at history, a Democrat needs to be more than plus 5 in the national polling. Harris is only at plus 1. Harris 48.4, Trump 46.3. So Trump is certainly at his highest. Like at the beginning of this week, if we go back to like October 15th, 46.1 for Trump, so he's gained maybe 0.2. Kamala Harris has dropped about 0.1, right? So it's an extremely, extremely tight race. Believe it or not, there's even a few general election polls that have Trump tied or even up. It's going to tighten up all the more, though. This race is going to probably, if I was to guess, there's going to be something released about Trump. Now, many people's minds are made up about Trump, but it may give the Democrats a little bit of momentum, right? There's going to be something about the January 6th stuff, probably some attorney or some judge somewhere, right? I think that we've been trying to keep up with some of this, that even today I think there's going to be some decision released about documents about Trump, and I think a lot of it they're just trying to stir stuff up to release it. I think that people have heard about January 6th so much that they don't care. It's going to tighten up all the more. Expect Kamala Harris to probably go into the election on November 5th with probably, a few points ahead nationally, and we'll see. We'll see. It's anybody's race. Anybody that's telling you that Trump has it in the bag right now, they don't know that for certain. Anybody that's telling you that Kamala Harris has it in the bag, they don't know for certain either. But institutionally, if we look at just how things have gone 2020 and whatnot, and if those shenanigan this time around, you have to think that the Democrats are at least going to give it their best shot by whatever means that may be, right? Jimmy Carter, speaking of them having their best shot, Jimmy Carter voted for Kamala Harris. He's 100 years old now. He's been on hospice care for 2 years. Amazing story that he's lived this long. I guess the Lord's blessing him for being a Sunday school teacher, right? Jimmy Carter did cast his vote. If you have seen Jimmy Carter lately, I don't even want to show you pictures of him. If you Googled Jimmy Carter, you're going to see some pictures of him from a few years ago. That's not an accurate representation of what Jimmy Carter looks like right now. To put it lightly, Jimmy Carter looks like he could leave us anytime now, okay? He looks very, very bad. if you were just to look at him, to be quite frank, you might think that he's already gone. It doesn't seem like he can talk or even hear. If that's the case, I don't know how he's voting for Kamala Harris. He doesn't seem to have the ability to fill in the space or push a button. Truth be told, there's all those old jokes about somebody's grandmother being a faithful conservative Republican all their days until she died, and she's voted Democrat ever since. Jimmy Carter has cast his ballot for Kamala Harris. If Jimmy Carter is voting for Kamala Harris, your great aunt probably is voting for Kamala Harris too. I do not think that we live in a political time in which Republicans, conservatives, can go into a race with any confidence at all. You cannot go into a race with any confidence at all. You have to vote, okay? And I hope that voting is enough, right? And maybe you need to go sit on the ballot box. One of the things that does make me worried about is if you do look at the polling and if you listen to some of the news media, they will be giving Trump a lot of momentum. They're not just openly trying to claim that Kamala Harris is running away with it now. I hope that doesn't lead to Republicans, conservatives, and even independents and Democrats who are going to vote for Trump to say, doesn't seem like I have to go vote. Looks like everything's going to work out. In Oklahoma, that's probably true. But there's been a lot of people who move into Oklahoma. Wisconsin, that's not true. I know that Wisconsin recently, a polling came out and supported, like it was showing Trump in the lead. If you're in Wisconsin, you better go vote. If you're in Pennsylvania, you better go vote. If you're in Georgia, North Carolina, goodness gracious. If you're in Texas, you better go vote. All right? There's a lot of people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who have never, done any hard manual labor in their life who are going to vote for Kamala Harris. All right? So this race is far from over. Don't be content. Now, let's see here. On Monday, let's rant about this for a little bit. On Monday, it was Columbus Day, but you wouldn't have known that probably if you were born in the past 3 decades, because for some reason, everybody seems to be calling it Indigenous Peoples Day. Let me tell you that there is no... Let's just see. Let's do a little bit of research here. The federal holiday, okay? You know me, I'm not a big fan of the federal government, but it is what it is. The federal holiday is technically called Columbus Day. All right? That's what it is. It's Columbus Day. You wouldn't have known that, though, because it was just everywhere that you looked, it was Indigenous Peoples Day. And I want to know, when did that even happen? When did people start calling it that? When did Columbus Day? Let's just do a little bit of looking here. Columbus Day become Indigenous Peoples Day. So in 1992, the International Conference of Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, sponsored by the United States and Geneva, Switzerland, first proposed the idea of replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. It didn't gain much ground until the city of Berkeley, California made it official in 1992. So Berkeley, California did it. Maine, New Mexico, Vermont, D.C. all renamed it Indigenous Peoples Day. But federally, it's still Columbus Day. All right, so here's the thing. Some of your woke leftist states and cities decided to say we're going to call it Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's talk about that. All right, I'm ready to rant. I was ready to rant on Tuesday. I was already mad about it. And I thought about mentioning it on Monday, but I didn't realize how bad it was going to be because it was still early on Monday. When I got up on Monday morning, I saw somebody make a comment about it being Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah, obviously, I know that they're going to do it. They've done it for some time. But then I saw it, people quite openly attacking Columbus, saying Columbus didn't discover anything. And stolen land. I was seeing posts like that. And I was seeing all these proud indigenous person, proud and Native American, whatever. So let's break this down, okay? I understand. I don't look very Indian at all. And I know I said Indian, right? How terrible. How insensitive. They're Native American. America coming from Amerigo Vespucci. European. Anyways, indigenous, right? I don't look very indigenous. A lot of people in America probably have a little bit of, Native American, indigenous blood in them. Okay, I do. Not a lot. Not enough to get free school. I had to pay for all my school, and like some of my friends who had a card. But why should we celebrate Columbus Day? What is the principle behind it? Columbus was the man who was willing to test this whole idea about sailing where no man had sailed before, to traverse the United States, to traverse the world. And what does he find? He finds the new land. First of all, let me just say, before we go any further than that, all of you who decided, and I'm not talking to you, the audience, because y'all all have common sense, but all of you who got on your smartphones that you have to use to do everything for you and shared or posted something on your social media account about how Columbus didn't discover anything. Columbus, like he thought he landed in India. Like how silly is he, right? Didn't even realize that he landed in a whole new land. Or not a new land, but, undiscovered land to the Europeans. All the things that you want to accuse Columbus of. That man got on a ship and oversaw the navigation to make it across the ocean, like alive. Navigating by stars. What have you ever done? Matt Walsh pointed this out the other day in his show. What have these people ever done that could come anywhere close to that? You may not think that's all impressive, but I'm just telling you it is right now. For anybody who understands anything at all about ships, sailing, navigation, I mean, half the time you can't find places where you want to go with your GPS. You get lost using a satellite global positioning system that fits in your pocket. We have future technology, okay? The most powerful navigation devices known to man, and yet you still cannot find the store that you want to go to down the road. That alone is incredible. You need to show him some respect. Now, what do you say from there? Well, when he arrived, he brought all these diseases. Okay. Let's just pause for a moment. So you say Columbus brought all these diseases and wiped everybody out. Now, there's always the stories of the smallpox blankets. The history behind that is very scant. Something that somebody, some liberal wrote in a book, and now it's been repeated. Yeah, okay, there were diseases, right? Every society has different diseases. If you try to claim, though, in modern times that a certain virus came from China, right? You will be called a racist. How dare you say that they brought diseases over? That is insensitive. And yet, you'll want to attack Columbus for bringing diseases that the European nations had that was not over in the Americas. Double standard there. Seems like a double standard. Pick your side. Okay. My complaint with China is they were dishonest about it. All right. And I will say our understanding of diseases is way better now than what Columbus had back in his day. So, yeah, China is a lot more responsible in a way that Columbus was not, and the other Europeans. Let's see here. Furthermore, you want to claim that they stole the land. If Columbus wouldn't have come over, then the indigenous people would not have had their land stolen. This is the most absurd one of all. Because whatever land those tribes were living on, they stole them from somebody else. I cannot fathom the argument. It's so absurd. It's terrible that Columbus came because then all the Europeans came and took the land. Just like how you took it from another tribe, or not even you. Here's the thing. They want to identify with it. Okay, listen. Let's just give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you are half indigenous person, Native American, Indian, right? Whatever you want to go by. Let's say you're half. Not a lot of half anymore, okay? Not a lot. There's some out there, but a lot of them are more like a quarter, right? An eighth, something like that. But let's just go with it, right? You're 50%. You are only seem to be concerned about 50% of a certain part of your genealogy. Isn't that interesting? Don't you find that amusing? For example, if you have a person like Barack Obama. Barack Obama has one parent who is black and another parent that is white. But guess what? He's the first black president. That's how our ideology works, because we only worry about a particular race, right? Certain races have more hierarchy. Okay, it's better to be black than it is to be Asian. It's also better to be indigenous, right? Native American than it is to be Asian. But it's better to be Asian than it is to be white, right? White is the very worst. I think probably Hispanic beats Native American just a little bit on the totem pole. And so they only want to acknowledge that one part of it. As if your lineage is not impressive still. That you had another side of your lineage, your family tree, that was willing to traverse an ocean and explore an unknown land and settle down. Like, that's impressive still, right? But we don't care about them because they're the Europeans. And we're told that the indigenous people, the people that have more melanin in their skin, are more important, right? That's what we're told. It is a reverse racism of what you're normally told. Truth is, just straight out plain for you. So they only worry about that aspect of it. You stole our land. Okay, well, you're talking to yourself here, because very few people are purebred anymore, right? You're a little bit of everything. Okay, we're all kind of a Heinz 57 mix of all different backgrounds and ethnicities. But even then, let's just say you're 50% and you're just going to identify with that 50%. Whatever land that your ancestors were on, they stole it from somebody else. And probably that land was stolen from somebody before that as well. The story of land being conquered and taken is as old as time. It went on in the days of Abraham, and it goes on today. Plain and simple. What is America doing right now? We don't want Russia to have Ukraine. So you know what? We're going to have Ukraine fight a proxy war for us so we can have that land. It's a land battle, okay? We don't want Russia to have it. We're okay with letting Ukraine have it, have it. They can have it, but we're not going to let Russia have it. We're battling over land. We're battling over land. Same story. It's the same story. The Democrats want to turn this country purple, if not blue. They obviously want it to be blue. So guess what? It's a land battle. They're going to bring the people that they want in to possess that land, so that land will vote the way they want it to. It's all a land battle. Humanity has not changed. So the idea that, the indigenous people lived in perfect harmony before the evil white man, the paleface, came is an absurd joke, okay? So cut it out. You are showing your ignorance. Everybody thinks that it was Pocahontas before any Europeans came. Before Columbus came, everybody lived in harmony. The Aztecs were sacrificing people, okay? You better thank Columbus, because if it wasn't for Columbus, you wouldn't have had Cortez. And Cortez was the guy who was man enough to go defeat the Aztecs, all right? Him leading his conquistadors. And I'm no fan of the Holy Roman Empire, okay? But at least they weren't offering human sacrifices, all right, like the pagan, heathen Aztecs were, okay? I'm pretty sure that the tribes that were being sacrificed by the Aztecs were pretty glad when old Cortez showed up, okay? So that is absurd. You sound ridiculous. You have no concept of history. You think that life was a Disney movie, okay, in America before Europeans came. So the truth is, the land stolen, it's conquered. Plain and simple. Land is conquered. You have to fight for it. And they did. And some fought admirably, but guess what? They ultimately didn't win. Okay? Sorry. It's the way it goes. The story of land is, or wealth, whatever, it's yours as long as you can keep it. It's yours as long as you can keep it. So what else? They will mention the atrocities that Europeans did. You will be hard pressed to find more vile human torture than what was done by the Apache, the Comanche. That was some of the most barbaric things ever done. So yeah, while the Europeans had horrible things that they would do, guess what? So did the tribes. So did the indigenous people, setting aside the human sacrificing of the Aztecs. All right? The things that the Comanches would do to their enemies, not just to Europeans, but to each other. And then you would claim, well, slavery came. The Europeans brought slavery. They enslaved people. You really think that slavery was invented by the Europeans? That slavery was not something that was going on for centuries before? Just like the West, what is it? The term, the West something slave trade. The the Atlantic slave trade, all those different things, the transatlantic slave trade. Do you really think that it was just the Europeans going into Africa and gathering up people? Do you not think that the African tribes were utilizing it themselves? Taking out tribes they didn't like and selling them off? History is ugly, okay? History is ugly in a lot of ways. If you look at every society, okay, basically every society, nobody has just a clean sheet, okay, a pure track record. Everybody has their problems. But one reason why you should be thankful for Columbus is because the technology and advancement that was brought. It's an interesting thing, but if you look at the way that the tribes lived, I know that they could plant, they could hunt, but they were living like, in many ways, truthfully, the indigenous people were further behind Adam in technology. It was like they had regressed in some ways. Now, probably because you're having to focus on survival. Whenever you leave the core place where God planted man, told him to be fruitful and multiply, but somewhere along the way, somebody forgot how to do things with metal. Like that knowledge, that technology was lost. And yes, I take a biblical worldview. I don't think that man evolved from monkeys in Africa, you silly people that believe in ridiculous stories. But somewhere along the way, man regressed, at least in that area. I don't know why. The knowledge was lost. They were more focused on hunting for food, and they kind of got locked in a vicious cycle, didn't they? A vicious cycle to where it was hunter-gatherer for generations and generations, and there was not any improvement on technology. Maybe because they were so far away from revelation regarding the Bible and God when they went across the land bridge, when they did. So you're welcome. Here's technology. Yeah, people died from disease, sure. Think about how many people live, though, because guess what? Now, all of a sudden, we're able to show you how to survive better in the winter. Okay, there's other ways. There's better shelters. There's better sources of fuel, right? Here's coal. So the technology that Europe brought with it absolutely benefited the indigenous people. Knock it off, okay? You get celebrated all the time. I live in Oklahoma, okay? Every single day I drive by signs and billboards declaring the greatness of the nations, right? The Choctaw Nation, Cherokee Nation, Chickasaw, whatever, okay? You have all the days, all right? Let Columbus have this one because he did something that you never did. So cut it out, you silly, silly people. All right, there's my thoughts on Columbus Day. Now, moving on. McDonald's is raising prices, and how's that for a transition? McDonald's is raising prices, and no longer can some of the suppliers afford to keep up. A major supplier of French fries was unable to do it. There wasn't enough potatoes, and the price increase was just too much. Here's the thing. McDonald's is expensive. Used to, you could go to a fast food place and, for $5 you could feed you and the missus. Maybe even get a Happy Meal for the kiddos, right? Not so much anymore. Nowadays, if you go to McDonald's, if I went to McDonald's with my wife and my son, and then our kids, our babies, they're not going to eat anything from McDonald's. Well, they may eat some mushed up French fries or something, but we don't ever even go to McDonald's. We just go to Brahms, right? The Lord's chosen fast food place. But I bet we couldn't feed our family for $20. Because by the time it's all said and done, you get the food and the drink, and you pay for the kid too. You can't average 10. You can't average 20 divided by 3, $6.50 per person. You can't hardly do it anymore. Every meal is $10. Why? For one, there's inflation, and I know that the administration's been telling you that there's not. Right? Biden's been saying, "Look, Jack, there's no inflation." Okay, they're telling you that. They're telling you that we haven't had recessions, right? Because we had to redefine it. It's going on. You can see it. It's expensive everywhere you go. Another reason, though, is because we've insisted on raising the wage, right? You got to raise that minimum wage. McDonald's can't afford to do it because guess what? When all of a sudden you start paying the dishwasher $15 an hour, you got to start charging $10 for a burger. That's how you can afford it. Can't do it any other way. It's not going to happen. This brings us all back to the main issue. We have massive spending, and it's got to stop. Inflation's got to stop. We got to calm down. We got to get away from this idea that we can just print money however much we want. We need to get back to money being representative of something like gold reserve, right? We got to get back to it. We have to. Money is a real thing. Money is a real thing, and you can't just make it whatever you want. You can't make as much of it as you want. You've got to respect it. And ever since we got away from money representing an actual value, okay, precious metals, it messed everything up. Okay? There's a theory called momentary or monetary theory. And it's just whatever the money needs to be, we can make it. So if we need $20,000 to be worth this value, right? Dollars is a value, but it's not actually because it's money will change its worth. You can just do whatever you need to. If you need to print that X amount of money, it's not going to work. It can't. Because money actually has to have value. It actually has to mean something. And for too long, governments have believed that they can just get away with it, right? Look at Venezuela. There are bills, Venezuelan bills blowing in the streets because it's worth nothing. If America's not careful, it's going to head that way. We've got to stop the spending. Trump spent a lot of money too, okay? Remember, on this show, we don't hide it. We'll acknowledge the areas where he fell short. Trump spent too much money. The Democrats spend too much money. Everybody's spending too much money. We got to stop it. We got to cut all these big social programs to where the dollar actually means something. Way too many people are on welfare. Way too many. And welfare shouldn't even exist. I know, that's crazy, right? Okay, there are better ways to do it. Plain and simple. Better ways. But we've decided to let Big Daddy government start writing out checks to everybody, and now everybody wants a slice. And everybody wants a slice, guess what happens? Your money becomes worthless. So watch it and see how you may just find that the McDonald's near you shuts down because they can't afford to cover operation expenses and they can't afford to pay the 15-year-old kid washing the dishes $15 an hour. And there's not going to be French fries, which is really the only good reason to go to McDonald's anyways. They're French fries were the only good part, as long as they're fresh. Otherwise, they just don't taste good at all. It's almost like we're regressing as a society. Okay, now, I got to talk about a preacher. Matt Chandler. I don't know if you've heard of Matt Chandler. Some of you may have. He was kind of he's never been as big as David Platt and John Piper, but he's kind of still one of the darlings, right? Maybe on the Francis Chan tier a little bit. Matt Chandler recently made some comments on the GOP and the manipulation of the GOP. So here is a clip of Matt Chandler talking right here, and I'll let you hear what he has to say about how the GOP is manipulating evangelicals.
In 1972, go read their charter. Not a single word about God or abortion in there. They were losing elections. They developed a strategy in the 70s to co-opt us and make us their people. They know we're easily manipulated. We are easily worked into a frenzy. We can be controlled by them. And that's what they did. And they are not for us. They do not all believe what we believe. This is a strategy. So I feel used by them. When they talk about us and to us, I feel in my guts like, get my name out of your mouth. You do not represent me. In 1970.
Okay. That was his comment on conservative politicians. So Matt Chandler is a mega pastor. He was in Texas, I believe, for a time. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember where he was or where he is now. You probably have heard of Matt Chandler. At least some of you have. Let's see here. He's the senior pastor of Village Church, and yeah, so he is in Texas. He is a Calvinist guy, so he's rubbed elbows with John Piper. Like I said, he's kind of, he's one of their darlings, one of their precious ones. He did have a little bit of a scandal where he was like having some inappropriate Instagram messaging with some lady. It said that it was never, I don't know, romantic, but it was bad enough that he got caught on it or whatever and had to step away and do some, some real meditation on it and get healed by the Lord, I suppose. But Matt Chandler, in that statement, he claims that in the charters, the GOP, they used to never, like back in the 70s, abortion and God was not a major point of the GOP. And so his point is kind of like how the Democrats have made the black population or the, strange sexual orientation groups, these minorities, Hispanics, how they have tried to cater to them and bring them in as a coalition. His claim is that's what the GOP's done. The GOP are the real manipulators because they just decided to put abortion and God on the agenda and they knew that they could get our vote. We're just being played. That's all he's trying to say. So here's the thing. just like David Platt, Matt Chandler's a social activist, okay? He is a bleeding heart liberal. It's the only way to take it in what he's saying. He is nothing but, probably a BLM supporting guy that believes that abortion actually should be illegal, so there's less abortion, right? He's one of those, okay? If we make it illegal, there's just going to be more of it. I mean, that's terrible, okay? And he'll say, well, abortion has increased ever since Roe v. Wade. Yeah, that's because of the abortion pill, all right? You got to have some common sense here, Matt Chandler. This is the result of bad theology, okay? It's what it always comes down to. Politics is theology. Bad politics is the result of bad theology. This is taking everything that Jesus said in the Gospels and applying them without any context, without any framing to the call to the kingdom. The least of these, the least of these, the least of these. How many times have you heard that being quoted lately? If you do this for the least of these. Who is the least of these? The least of these is not the migrant, the illegal migrant that came across the border. The least of these is the Jewish people. It's the Jewish people. It's those that are in need, okay, that were in the nation of Israel, the poor in spirit, those that were afflicted, those that were hurting, those that were meek. All of those matters, okay, the least of these. But we have taken the words of Jesus and stripped them of any meaning. Now it's all about us. The gospel's all about us. The kingdom's all about us. There is no actual kingdom for Israel, no future. We're God's covenant people. That's where all this silliness comes from. Let's just try to find their favorite verse here. Tim Walls commented it, mentioned it. Matthew 25:40. Let's go ahead and just look up this Bible verse here. Let's just look at our passage. Let's find the verses here. So it comes prior to a parable, which many people get parables wrong. I bet Matt Chandler probably doesn't understand the purpose of parables. But Jesus is giving a parable here. It's the parable of the talents. The parable with the 5 talents, put his to work and made 5 talents more. The one with 2 talents went to work and made 2 talents more. And then there's the one servant who had 1 talent and buried his, and gave it back. Did nothing, didn't produce any fruit. So, as the Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knowest that I reap where I sowed not and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. So take the talent from him and give it to the other one with 10 talents. For everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance, but from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. That actually calls back to those who have ears to hear, eyes to see. If you have the ears to understand the gospel, then you will receive more in abundance. But if you don't, what you have is going to be taken away from you. Verse 31, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. That's messianic. That's the fulfillment of the prophecies regarding the kingdom established forever, the Davidic kingdom. And before him shall be gathered all nations. And we actually talked about this with Ken just the other day. This was a question on Theology Thursday. Matt Chandler should listen to it. Maybe he would actually understand the Bible. And he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. I talked about how, and I understood Ken's arguments there, could that be the sheep that care for the nation of Israel? Or maybe even like some from the line of Ishmael who were circumcised? But sheep there, that is such a Jewish word, and goats is such a non-Jewish word. Circumcised, uncircumcised, kind of where Ken was going with it. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. Words matter, Matt Chandler. The kingdom was not prepared for me. It was not. It was prepared for the people of Israel from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee and hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? And when we saw thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. The least of these. Then shall he say also to them on his left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and ye gave me not meat. Christ again and again represents Israel as a whole. You can see that, the typology. Out of Egypt I have called my son. Christ 40 days in the wilderness, representing Israel's 40 years in the wilderness. There's a lot of typology there. In this case, me, Christ, being a stand-in for the people of Israel, caring for them. That's where Christ's ministry was. You do not see the other nations in this. You have to pay attention to the context of the Gospels, or you're going to come away with a socialist, bad theology. So Matt Chandler would then say the least of these are going to be the poor migrants who come in. Never mind you that they probably could have stayed in their own countries and taken care of themselves, but they know that right now Joe Biden's handing out free money like it's, growing on trees. Yes, are there some seeking a better life? Sure. Not all of them. And a lot of them are military-age males, and we're in a lot of trouble. So, a ton of bad theology coming from Matt Chandler, claiming that back in the day, the GOP wasn't worried about abortion and didn't have God on the ballot. Well, that's probably because back then, abortion was not being done nonstop for any reason. Back in the 70s, abortion was going on, but it was much more rare, right? The Democrats were saying safe, legal, and rare. Probably wasn't a major issue, okay? It's not near as prevalent as what it is now, so the Republicans didn't feel the need to address it. Also, most people still at least believe that church and God mattered and God was real. But guess what? Nowadays they don't. So as things shift in the culture, some things become a bigger deal. So now, yes, we actually have to speak out against abortion because the Democrats want to be able to murder babies before and after birth. Also, we have to speak out about God because the Democrats hate God. And I know that's strong language, but it's true in a lot of ways. They hate the principle of what Christianity is anyways. The idea of God creating them male and female, they reject that very premise. And that they don't ultimately answer, or that we don't ultimately answer to them, but we would have our ultimate allegiance to God. That's Christian nationalism. You should bow down and kiss the ring of the government. All right? They want us to fear them. We only fear God. It's our only fear. So, Matt Chandler, terrible take, terrible theology. He's just playing a pawn of what the Democrats would like. More of these squishy evangelicals to come out and buy hippie Jesus spreading socialism and calling it the gospel. We got to be better than that. We got to speak out against it. And that's why Shields and Arrows is here to defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. Now, it is Friday, Fellowship Friday. Let's go ahead and visit and let's chat with you all after you've got to listen to me rant for 55 minutes now. So Ken Hamner's on today. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Amen. Yep, the Lord is always worthy of our praise. And I think one major aspect of praise is actually presenting the Lord accurately and according to His Word. So good Bible study and Bible teaching is also an act of praising the Lord. Give me 1 second. You may be able to hear my child running around in the background. Very professional here, right? He was telling me that he needed to go potty. One of these days we'll look back and laugh at this time probably. We have Ken Crawford on today. Ken, good to have you. Nancy, great to have you back. We always enjoy you. My mom's on today. Hey, Mom. Kristen, one of our very own at Blue Baptist Church. Good Bible student as well. Ken says, indigenous who? What's that? Yeah, we have to keep coming up with new words. Eventually, indigenous is going to be declared offensive, and so they will not even use that term either. Nancy says, dollar men use a thing of the past in regard to McDonald's. Nancy, you're absolutely right. You can't buy anything for $1 anymore. There used to be stores called just $1, right? You remember those stores where you could walk in and everything's $1? Nowadays, $1 can't even afford the plastic bag that you would put your stuff in. Ken says, I speculate man started to regress at Adam's fall. Before that, I think Adam and Eve were probably brilliant. I've said this before too. I think Adam very possibly was one of the most intelligent men that ever lived. I think we do get dumber as time goes on. We have to fight to hang on to what little knowledge and wisdom that we have. Rick says, I'd be interested in what you think of Stephen Anderson of Temple, or is it just Tempe, Arizona. The new independent fundamental Baptist church. I'll write that down and look and see. I don't know anything about him, so whatever y'all's opinions are, if you like him, if you think he's crazy, whatever. I don't know anything about him. I'll look it up. That name almost sounds familiar, but like I said, I know nothing about this individual. So if you know and y'all are saying, oh no, he said this or that, and we disagree with his theology, and okay, I just don't know him. I'll do my research, though. Thank you, Rick. Alan in Portland, our fellow right divider behind enemy lines over there, holding it down. Hope you're doing okay. Downtown Portland. Oh my goodness, it's even worse than I thought. You're like the paragliders. I had a great uncle. His name was Charlie, and he was in the airborne, and he would do paragliders, and he fought in World War II. So that's the equivalent right there. Downtown Portland. Wow. I know that apparently there's some areas that are worse than others, but downtown Portland, Alan, you are one tough man, I'll tell you that much. All right, well, that brings us to a close on Friday. We'll be back on Monday with a lot more. I'll be teaching the Bible 3 times on Sunday. 2 of them we recorded. The 3rd one won't be, but that's okay. Actually, no, I won't. I won't be. And so with that, I got to get ready to close out. I just got to see my son again. And you can probably hear him in the background right now. I'm home alone with all these kids. Help, send help, mayday, mayday, okay? Alert, red alert. I'll survive though, I promise. Thank you all so much. We'll be back tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Monday, with a lot of stuff, I'm sure. Things are going to happen. We'll get an update on the election. We'll probably see what's going on in the Middle East. I saw where a Hamas leader was taken out by Israel. Crazy times. And we're here for it. We're not running away. We're not going to hide. We're going to defend the faith with good Bible doctrine, good sound teaching, standing for the family and the fellowship. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. We'll be back. Y'all come back now. You hear? Take care.